Good afternoon, I am Lucky Links, and I have a idea to propose today in this video that I hope some of you may find interesting. And I think that the question is, what is it, and this is what I'm going to address, what is it that we're actually doing when we do this psychic thing? What actually is going on? The Tibetans say that everything that happens in your life emanates from your mind, that the entire world around you, your entire experience, all comes from your mind, your body, your health, everything. Mind is the source of all of it. So my proposal here, and this is from my experience studying Tibetan thought and being a student of a master for at least 7-8 years now, and I am in no way the be-all, end-all in this, nor am I a guru, nor am I the final word. But from my experience, which is what I'm sharing here, is this divination stuff tends to reflect the patterns of people's minds. So when we toss cards, when we toss dice, we flip a coin, whatever, this represents a pattern that is going on in our mind. So we can set a series of pictures up, and it would say there's an optimistic partnership that would bring positive results or great wealth to you. For example, we could say that. Okay, or the decision to go from a higher place would bring greater optimism to you. See, these are just patterns. So we could deduce from that what's going on in someone's mind is they may be hesitating right now about being optimistic or about taking a partnership or about hesitancy about a partnership right now. So what I'm saying is that when these dice are rolled, what they're doing is they're reflecting patterns that are happening inside your mind, and that's really all it is. It's all about the mind. In this case, it's the sun or the moon. When things are working and moving forward and being revealed, it would be the sun side. When things are working themselves out in your subconscious, the moon would reflect it because it would be naturally attracted to that pattern. Now, why that happens, I think that has more to do with physics and quantum theory and the idea of a holographic universe. And I don't necessarily want to get into that. I'm not really an expert on it. But I have, from my own experience, watched things like cards come up time and time again. For a question that's asked, you'll get the same question over and over again, or the same dice rolls, or the same thing again and again and again in relation to a situation. And it defies randomness, and it defies the law of averages. And those of you who've actually done this know this is the case. Now, I'm not denying the possibility or the existence of spirits or their interconnectedness with any of this, or the fact that we have life after we die. I'm not denying any of that. I'm simply saying that the approach from my experience over the last 15 years that I really want to take right now is to encourage people to look at how these represent patterns. These images represent patterns that are going on in their minds at the moment. Our job as diviners is to read the patterns past, present, and future and see the natural development as it's going on in their mind and where that's likely to take them. Working with hypnosis for people for the last 13 years, I also know that the patterns that are stored up here create the same experiences for people over and over and over again until they decide to do something big enough to actually change the neurology of their brains and put them in new situations and give them new changes. That I have seen again and again as well. So my assertion in all of this is that all we're really doing is looking at the patterns that are reflected. This is like a mirror showing us the patterns that are reflected in people's minds, and it's our job as diviners to just read those patterns and see where things are headed. I also have another unique take on this, in that I was a literature and creative writing professor, college professor for many years, and during that time and during the time when I was getting my degrees, I read an awful lot of literature, and there was something about fairy tales I always thought that was much more profoundly moving and would be remembered far longer than any of the literary fiction that was in their canons. And I wondered why that was and started to realize that it had something to do with archetypes. These archetypes like the sun, the moon, the lovers, the swordsman, there's the sun again, the hermit. These images, these patterns, these archetypes repeat throughout story, throughout history, and throughout our minds. And that's the way our minds speak to us, with these common patterns. That's how we can connect with each other. So All I'm suggesting here is that we think that maybe it's not so spooky or outrageous or weird or far out as we think it is. It's only that these are showing us what's going on in our own mind. Think about that and see if it empowers you in any way. I am Lucky Links, and I hope that this brings you a little bit of insight, and may you have success and good fortune.